GetDownToBusiness.com. Promo code Amy.
Welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Linze Rice, a journalist and photographer who has scooped and told so many of Chicago's most viral stories. In fact, the number of media outlets that Linze's stories have been picked up by are far too numerous to list. I'm just basically going to say all of the above. Linze, it is such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, Linze, I got to know you when you were at DNA Info. You were covering many of these stories in a neighborhood that I care so much about in West Rogers Park. And I know that was a while ago, but since then you have launched Pink House Media. And Linze, I'd love to start with a bit about your background, and would love to then talk a little bit about some of the exciting things you're working on, and hopefully tell our listeners why you are so good at what you do.
Well, my background is always kind of been in writing. That's always really been my bread and butter and my passion. And so living in Chicago's far north side, when I had the opportunity to report with DNA Info, I definitely jumped at it. I love this area up here. I live in Edgewater myself, and so being able to, write about all these stories was so amazing. And during the course of that was getting to know so many people in the neighborhood and getting to meet all the people who actually make the neighborhoods happen, the business owners and all these different stakeholders. So that was always so inspiring. And then when DNA sadly closed, we all had to kind of find new things to do. And I, for a very short period, started working with a small PR firm. And within just a few months of working with them, I thought, you know what, I think I can do this on my own, which was very scary. But at the same time, I was like, I'm going to be able to combine my reporting experience, my skills, and some of the things that even fall outside of journalism, and use some of my connections and kind of just try to put something all together. So that was how Pink House Media formed. I basically do PR and content, social media, as well as still some freelance reporting for Block Club, Chicago Sun-Times, and other things like that. So during the course of that, it's been a great experience so far.
It has, just from watching your work, and we'll talk about some of the examples. I've been blown away, and what I've found unique about about your style is you have become an expert in finding and writing the stories that no one else covers. So there's been many examples of that, and probably many of our listeners are very familiar with the Linze's breaking the story on Chicago's first cat cafe, profiling incredible people like Holocaust survivor Benny the barber, the tattoo grandma, and helping new businesses sell out of everything on their very first day. Those are all examples of you identifying those stories. And now on the private side, through Pink House Media, you're able to work with businesses and help them sort of, as we were just talking about with our earlier guest, uncover what makes their business unique. So, Linze, we could talk specific examples if you can, but I'd love to just talk about sort of your method to the madness. A small business that might be listening tonight, what is your process for sort of finding and helping them tell their story?
Yeah, what I always found really interesting was, and this I found as a reporter, was you would talk to people on, a business owner or somebody at an organization, and they would think, oh, what's so special about me? I just do this. I'm not that interesting. And really, it was just people don't know how to talk about themselves. And you're so close to yourself that it's hard to see the things sometimes that do make you unique, or maybe you're only looking on the surface level of, oh, if I work in a logistics company, people don't find that, that exciting or something. But maybe, you go a little deeper than that, and you start thinking, well, how did you form your business? What is your family's background? What are some of the unique things that make you you? And I really kind of help people pull those out, and we do sort of an interview and then I'm able to kind of identify and pull out and highlight the really interesting things that I know as a reporter what would make an interesting story.
Sure. And I'm not an expert on on the digital side of things, on search engine optimization, but from what I'm told, having fresh content is really not only a good thing to do, it's really essential in this day and age. So you help businesses really tell the story. I love the process of doing an interview with the owners of the company and turning a boring business. I guess no business is really boring, but finding the less exciting profiles and turning it into something that people really want to hear all about. Linze, are there any specific clients that you have or are working with that you want to give a shout out to that just you've been excited and blown away by their story?
Oh, definitely. One of my favorite clients that I work with right now is LISC, a local initiative support corporation, their Chicago chapter. They are just an amazing organization that provides resources and expertise and funding to dozens of local community organizations across the city, particularly on the south and west sides, and being able to tell the stories of the small business entrepreneur in a program that they're doing to bring revitalization to their neighborhoods and get pressed for that and shine a spotlight on that has been so exciting, because the number of those stories out there are countless. So to be able to slowly pick them out and put them in the spotlight for a minute is so great. It
sure is. And we've had the LISC team on this show many times talking about their incredible work, and it's fascinating the stories that you have helped them sort of uncover, and through the interview process been able to help them tell their story. Linze, I want to go a bit in a different direction. We'll come back to Pink House Media and, of course, make sure that our listeners know how they could contact you, whether they are a big business or even a small business, and they just want to learn more about that process. Linze, something that is spoken about quite a bit these days, and I'm a part of some of those questions and part of some of those conversations, is the state of media, in specifically the state of media in Chicago. I know you've been with small media outlets. Where do you see the Chicago media scene over the coming years?
I definitely see it continuing to grow, to evolve. Right now, I think is a very exciting time in Chicago media. You have organizations like Block Club that are doing the hyper-local, trying to kind of pick up where DNA Info left off. You have things like City Bureau that are really not just reporting on interesting stories, but they're getting the community involved in the journalism process and teaching communities how to be more media literate and how to get involved in a different level, which I think is so important. And then you also, of course, have things like ProPublica Illinois, which is working with the Sun-Times and the Tribune and creating these amazing big enterprise stories and really breaking into the things that affect people across the state in their daily lives. So I definitely see a lot of experimentation, a lot of excitement, and a lot of investment in Chicago media right now. So I think it's in a good place. Sure,
and it sounds like from the examples that you've highlighted, you're a big believer in how things are sort of spread out across some of the smaller entities that obviously we all know and see the Tribune, the Sun-Times, sort of downsizing in some ways, but you see growth in other areas, and that's pretty exciting. I agree. So, Linze, we've been talking with Linze Rice, a journalist, photographer, and now a proud owner of Pink House Media. Linze, you've spotlighted some of the examples. You talked about your process. Lots of good information for businesses, as we said, big and small. How can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more?
You can always go to pinkhouse.media. We're also on Facebook, social media, Pink House Media, or you can always send me an email at info@pinkhouse.media.
Pinkhouse.media. By the way, is there any meaning behind the name?
It's inspired by the Edgewater Beach Apartments, which is my favorite building in Chicago, and so you had to throw that in there.
Absolutely. No, I love it. And I know that you call Edgewater home with your husband, Cat Pitbull. I believe your Pitbull's name is Bruce Wayne.
Yes, yep.
Oh, fantastic little family over there in Edgewater. And that is the inspiration behind the name Pink House Media. As always, Linze, you're always telling a story, which we love. Check out her website, pinkhouse.media. Thanks, Linze, for joining us on the show.
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And coming up on the program, we have more content, information. You won't want to miss a minute of it. You're listening to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. Again, on my website, shalomklein.com. Follow me on Twitter. You go on Facebook Live. Streaming live, you can say hi. I'm waving right now. We'll be back in just a moment.
Don't miss